The plan to take down Vecna is probably the most complex strategy the group has ever put together, and honestly, it needs to be. We're not dealing with a Demogorgon that you can just light on fire. Vecna is the one who's been pulling strings since 1983, and here's exactly how they're planning to end it all. Okay, so the entire plan basically starts with 11 getting strong enough to face Vecna head on. After season 4, she knows she can hurt him, but she also knows she wasn't powerful enough to kill him. That's why she's been training non-stop for the past 18 months. Hopper and Joyce set up this whole obstacle course in the junkyard. Remember that place where the kids fought demodogs? Now it's 11's personal training ground. She's running through rusted cars, leaping over buses, doing superhero landings, and blasting targets with her powers. It looks like something straight out of an 80s training montage, which makes sense because Hopper's literally timing her with a stopwatch like she's Rocky, preparing for the big fight. But here's what makes her training different this time. She's not just working on raw power, she's building speed, agility, and stamina. Think about every time 11 used her powers before. She'd do one big move and then collapse from a nosebleed. That's not gonna cut it against Vecna. He can fight for hours without getting tired. So 11's learning how to use her abilities in quick bursts over and over without completely draining herself. Millie Bobby Brown said she channeled her inner Tom Cruise for this season, which tells you how physical it gets. The training isn't just about mental focus anymore. It's about becoming a disciplined warrior who can think strategically while also throwing psychic punches. And based on what the Duffers have said, Volume 1 only touches the surface of what she's been preparing for. The real question is whether 11 can actually beat Vecna alone. And the answer seems to be no, which is why the plan involves way more than just her. This is the game changer. Will Byers has powers now, and they're completely different from 11. While 11's abilities come from within her, Will's powers are proximity-based. He can only access them when he's close to the hive mind, but when he is close, he can control everything connected to it. Think about what that means. Every Demogorgon, every vine, every particle of the Mind Flayer that's linked to Vecna's hive mind becomes Will's puppet. At the end of Volume 1, we saw him snap the limbs of multiple Demogorgons at once just by moving his arms. That's insane. And according to the Duffers, we've only seen the beginning of what he can do. The plan has to involve Will using these powers to turn Vecna's own army against him. Imagine Vecna sending waves of Demogorgons to attack the group, and Will just shuts them all down. Or better yet, he makes them attack Vecna instead. That's the kind of advantage they've never had before, but there's a catch. Will's connection to the hive mind means he can feel everything Vecna does. When Vecna's in pain, Will feels it. When Vecna's angry, Will senses it. That psychic link goes both ways, which makes Will vulnerable. If Vecna figures out that Will can control his army, he might try to sever the connection, or worse, use it to hurt Will directly. The Duffers have said this season is personal and emotional. They've said Netflix executives cried when they pitched the ending. That tells you someone important probably doesn't make it out alive. Who could it be? The most likely candidates are Hopper, Steve, or Will. Hopper's already died once in season 3, so doing it again but for real would be devastating. Steve's had so many close calls throughout the series that it feels like it's building to something. And Will, the boy who started it all, sacrificing himself to close the gate he was pulled through in 1983 would be the ultimate full circle moment. But here's the thing, the plan doesn't have to include a sacrifice. It's a possibility, a worst case scenario, but it's not guaranteed. Maybe 11 and Will working together can generate enough power to close the gates without anyone dying. Maybe Kaylee's illusions can trick the Mind Flayer into thinking the gates are still open when they're actually sealed. Maybe there's a scientific solution that Scott Clark helps them figure out. The group is going to explore every option before anyone volunteers to die. That's who they are. They've always found a way to save everyone, even when it seemed impossible. But if it comes down to it, if there's no other choice, someone's going to step up, and that's going to break our hearts. Sealing the gates is one thing, actually destroying the Upside Down is another. And based on everything we know, the plan probably involves collapsing that entire dimension so it can never threaten anyone again. How do you destroy a dimension? That's the kind of impossible question that Dustin loves. The answer probably involves understanding how the Upside Down was created in the first place. If Vecna and the Mind Flayer shaped it from nothing, then maybe it can be unshaped. Maybe collapsing the Upside Down is like deleting a computer file. You just need to access the right command. The wall surrounding the Upside Down is described as a circular barrier. That barrier keeps the dimension contained for now, but it's also growing. Every time Vecna opens a new gate, the barrier expands. If the group can reverse that process, if they can make the barrier shrink instead of grow, maybe it eventually compresses the Upside Down to nothing. Will's hive mind connection could be crucial here. If he can control everything in the Upside Down, maybe he can command it to implode. Like telling all the particles and all the vines and all the creatures to just stop existing. It sounds crazy, but this is Stranger Things. Crazy ideas are usually the ones that work. The problem is, Vecna won't let this happen without a fight. He spent decades building the Upside Down into his fortress. It's his home. Destroying it means destroying everything he's created. He's going to defend it with everything he's got, which is why the main assault has to happen at the same time as the destruction plan. Keep Vecna busy fighting 11 while Will and the others take apart his world piece by piece. The plan culminates in one massive battle that involves every single character. 11 versus Vecna in a psychic showdown. Will controlling the hive mind to keep demogorgons at bay. Kali creating illusions to confuse and disorient Vecna. Max and Holly feeding intel from inside Vecna's memories. Nancy, Steve, Jonathan, and Dustin freeing the kids from the spires in the Upside Down. Lucas keeping the music playing for Mac. Mike coordinating everyone's movements. Robin evacuating civilians. Hopper and Joyce providing cover fire. The military finally understanding the threat and offering support instead of interference. It's going to be chaos. People are going to get hurt. Things are going to go wrong, but that's when this group is at their best. When everything's falling apart and they have to improvise, that's when they pull off miracles. The Duffers said this season has been planned for 10 years. They've known where it was going since they first pitched the show. That means every detail, every character arc, every relationship, it's all building to this one moment. And when that moment comes, it's going to be the most intense thing we've ever seen on the show. Picture this. 11 and Vecna locked in combat, both of them bleeding from their noses, both of them screaming, pouring everything they have into destroying the other. Will, standing with his arms outstretched, controlling hundreds of demogorgons at once, forcing them to turn on each other. Kali projecting an illusion of the cave, making Vecna see his childhood trauma, breaking his concentration for just a second. Max and Holly bursting out of Vecna's mind through the portal, running up that hill, blasting at full volume. Nancy shooting Vecna with a shotgun while Steve lights him on fire again. The kids waking up in their spires, gasping for air, crying out for their parents. The Upside Down starting to collapse, vines withering, the sky cracking, the ground shaking. And in the middle of all of it, Mike Wheeler yelling into a walkie-talkie, coordinating everyone, making sure nobody gets left behind. That's the plan. That's how they win. Let's say the plan works. Let's say they kill Vecna, close the gates, destroy the Upside Down, and save the world. What then? The town is going to be in ruins. The military is going to have questions. The government is going to want to cover everything up like they always do. And the group is going to have to figure out how to live normal lives after spending their entire adolescence fighting monsters. 11 and Hopper and Joyce are going to stay together as a family. Will's going to finally feel like he belonged. Max is going to wake up from her coma and see Lucas waiting for her. Dustin's going to honor Eddie's memory by keeping the Hellfire Club alive. Nancy and Steve and Jonathan are going to figure out their relationship drama now that they're not running for their lives. Mike and 11 are going to get the happy ending they deserve. Robin's going to find her place in the group permanently, but here's the thing. The plan isn't just about defeating Vecna. It's about proving that ordinary people, kids who aren't special or chosen, can stand up to impossible evil and win. It's about friendship and loyalty and refusing to give up even when everyone tells you there's no hope. That's been the message of Stranger Things since the beginning. Will Byers disappeared and his friends decided they weren't going to stop looking until they found him. They didn't wait for adults to save him. They didn't trust the government to handle it. They got on their bikes and they went into the wood and they found a girl with a shaved head and superpowers, and together they changed everything. The plan to defeat Vecna is just the final chapter of that story. It's these kids, now teenagers, finishing what they started 8 years ago. And when they do, when they finally close the book on the Upside Down and the Mind Flayer and all the nightmares that have haunted them, they're going to be able to move forward. Not forget what happened, but move forward knowing they survived. You might be thinking, okay, but Vecna's been planning this for decades. He's incredibly powerful. He can see the future through the hive mind. How is a group of teenagers going to beat him? Here's why. Vecna underestimates them. He always has. He thought Will was weak and chose him as his first vessel because of that. But Will turned out to be stronger than anyone expected. He survived in the Upside Down for days. He resisted the Mind Flayer's control in season 2. And now he's weaponizing the very connection Vecna gave him. Vecna also underestimates 11. He knows she's powerful, but he doesn't understand her. She's not like him. She doesn't want power for its own sake. She uses her abilities to protect people she loves, and that love makes her stronger than any amount of training or manipulation could. And Vecna definitely underestimates the rest of the group. He sees them as pawns, as obstacles, as nothing important. But they're the reason 11 has survived this long. They're the reason Will came back from the Upside Down. They're the reason the Mind Flayer didn't take over Hawkins in season 3. They're the secret weapon Vecna never saw coming. The plan is going to work because it's built on trust and teamwork and love, things Vecna doesn't understand anymore. He's been alone for so long, trapped in the Vecna upside down with only the Mind Flayer for company. He's forgotten what it's like to have people who would die for you, and that's his biggest weakness. Matt and Ross Duffer have been very clear about what they want the ending to be. They want it to honor the journey these characters have been on. They want it to feel earned. They want it to be emotional and satisfying and definitive. This is the end of Stranger Things. There's no season 6, no sequel series with these characters. When it's over, it's over. That means the plan to defeat Vecna has to work. It has to be the right ending. And based on everything they've said in interviews, everything we've seen in Volume 1, and everything we know is coming in Volume 2, the plan they've laid out is going to deliver. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be clean. People are going to get hurt. Hearts are going to break. But in the end, Hawkins is going to be safe. The Upside Down is going to be gone. And the kids who started this journey in 1983 are going to finally get to rest. That's the plan. That's the promise the Duffers made when they started this show. And December 25th, we're going to see if they kept it. And based on everything they've said in interviews, Will's been more fearful than the others throughout the show. He hasn't been a leader. He hasn't fully accepted himself. But now that he's finally starting to embrace who he is, that strength is unlocking his full potential. The plan probably involves Will confronting that fear and using it as fuel instead of letting it hold him back. Here's where it gets really interesting. Max Mayfield isn't dead. She's been trapped inside of Vecna's mind for 20 months, living through his memories on repeat, and now Holly Wheeler's in there with her. The two of them are working on a plan to escape, but more importantly, they're gathering information that nobody else could possibly get. Max has been exploring Henry Creel's past. She's seen the Rainbow Room where he killed the other test subjects. She's seen Hawkins High in 1959 when he was just a teenager. She's seen the cave in Nevada where he first encountered something from Dimension X. And here's the key detail. Henry is terrified of that cave. He won't go near it. Max uses that fear as her safe house, hiding inside the cave system where Vecna can't follow her. Why is Henry scared of the cave? That's what Max and Holly need to figure out. Whatever happened in that cave is probably the origin of Vecna's powers. If they can understand what terrifies him about it, they can weaponize that fear. Episode 6 is called Escape from Kamazot. That's the name Holly gave to Vecna's mind prison, pulling from A Wrinkle in Time. In that book, Kamazotz is a planet controlled by an evil brain that crushes individuality. Sound familiar? Vecna's doing the exact same thing to the kids he's kidnapping. He's trying to reshape them into perfect vessels with no personality, no resistance, just obedient. The plan has to involve Max and Holly escaping with crucial intel about Vecna's weakness. Maybe it's something about the cave, maybe it's a memory they discover that shows how to break his connection to the Mind Flayer. Whatever it is, they're going to tell the group, and that information is going to change everything about how they approach the final battle. Lucas is keeping Running Up That Hill on repeat at Max's bedside in the hospital. That song creates a portal between Vecna's mind and the real world. Max can see through it. She can see Lucas sitting there, but she can't cross over unless the music keeps playing. The second Lucas stops the tape to rewind it, the portal starts closing. So the plan might involve timing. Keep the song playing long enough for Max and Holly to make their move, and maybe they can pull all the trapped kids out at once. Kaylee, also known as 8, is back. She's been held prisoner by the military in their upside-down base. 11 and Hopper found her at the end of Volume 1, locked behind a vault door, head shaved, strapped down against her will. Why does this matter for the plan? Because Kaylee has powers that nobody else does. She can create illusions that look completely real. In Season 2, she made 11 see a fake version of Brenner. She made an entire room of people see things that weren't there. That ability is going to be crucial against Vecna. Think about it, Vecna operates through fear and memory. He gets into people's heads by showing them their worst moments. But what if someone could do that to him? What if Kaylee created an illusion that looked like the cave from his childhood, or an illusion of the Mind Flayer turning against him, or an illusion of 11 at full power about to destroy him? The plan probably involves freeing Callie and getting her to work with 11. These two didn't exactly part on great terms in Season 2. Kali wanted 11 to seek revenge and kill people. 11 refused, but now the stakes are different. They're not hunting down scientists who worked at Hawkins' lab. They're fighting an enemy who wants to reshape the entire world. Kaylee's going to put aside whatever resentment she has and join the team. And here's a theory that's been floating around since Volume 1 dropped. It's called the D20 theory, based on Dungeons & Dragons. In the game, rolling a natural 20 means automatic success. Back in Season 4, Erica rolled a natural 20 to win the campaign. What if that was foreshadowing? 11 is number 11. Kaylee is number 8. Will is now effectively number 1 because he was the first person Vecna took. Add them together, 11 plus 8 plus 1 equals 20. What if the only way to defeat Vecna is by combining all 3 of their powers at once? 11's telekinesis, Kali's illusions, and Will's control over the hive mind. That's the natural 20. That's how you beat a boss who seems unbeatable. Dr. K and the military think they can contain the Upside Down with sonic weapons and quarantine zones. They're wrong, and their failure is going to be a massive part of the plan, even if they don't realize recognize it. See, the military has been treating this like a scientific problem that can be solved with firepower and containment. They don't understand what they're dealing with. They think 11 is the threat. They think if they capture her, everything goes back to normal. Meanwhile, Vecna's been playing them the entire time. At the end of Volume 1, Vecna walks through the Max-Z gate like it's nothing. He extends his arms and turns the soldiers' weapons against them, pushes fire back on them, pulls pins on grenades, kills them effortlessly. That's just a taste of what's coming. The military is going to get absolutely destroyed in Volume 2, and their destruction is going to force Dr. K to finally realize the kids were right all along. The plan doesn't rely on the military for help. If anything, the plan has to work around them. The group needs to avoid getting caught while also protecting the soldiers from getting slaughtered. And once the military realizes how outmatched they are, maybe some of them will start listening to Hopper and Joyce. Maybe they'll provide support instead of being obstacles. But here's the harsh reality. A lot of soldiers are going to die. The Duffer said this season is like 8 blockbuster movies, and blockbuster movies in the 80s didn't shy away from showing the cost of war. The military's failure will show just how dangerous Vecna really is and why the group's plan has to be so precise. Okay, so here's the core strategy. You can't just run straight at Vecna and hope for the best. He's too powerful. He can kill you with his mind before you even get close. The group has to attack him from multiple angles at once so he can't focus on any single threat. 11 is the main assault. She's going to be the one Vecna sees as the primary threat because she's beaten him before. Her job is to keep his attention while everyone else executes their part of the plan. Will is the hive mind controller. His job is to shut down Vecna's army so the group doesn't get overwhelmed by demogorgons and mind flayer particles while they're trying to fight the main boss. Kaylee is the distraction. Her illusions are going to mess with Vecna's head, make him second guess what's real and what's not. If she can create even a moment of doubt or fear, that's an opening for 11 to strike. Max and Holly are the intel team. Whatever they learn inside Vecna's mind is going to reveal his weakness. Maybe it's the cave. Maybe it's something about the mind flayer's original corruption of Henry. Maybe it's a specific memory that, if triggered, will cause Vecna to lose control. And then there's everyone else. Nancy, Steve, Jonathan, Robin, Dustin, Lucas, Mike, Joyce, Hopper. They're not just standing on the sidelines. They're protecting the kids Vecna kidnapped, fighting off any creatures that slip past Will's control, and making sure 11 and the others have enough time to do what they need to do. It's a coordinated attack that requires everyone to play their role perfectly. If one piece fails, the whole thing falls apart. That's why the training matters. That's why the information from Max matters. That's why Will accepting his powers matters. Everything has to come together at exactly the right moment. Here's the thing. Even if they kill Vecna, that doesn't solve the problem. The gates are still open, the Upside Down is still connected to Hawkins, and the Mind Flayer is still out there in Dimension X, waiting for a new puppet to control. The plan has to include a way to close the gates for good, not just cover them with metal panels like the military did, actually seal them so nothing can ever come through again. 11 opened the first gate back in 1983 during an experiment at Hawkins' lab. She's probably the only one who can close them all, but closing the gates might require a massive amount of power, like more power than 11 has ever used before. She might need help. That's where Will comes in. If he's connected to the hive mind and can channel Vecna's power, maybe he can redirect that energy to help 11 seal the gates while Vecna's distracted or weakened. There's also this theory about the wall surrounding the Upside Down. Scott Clark gave a lecture about wormholes in Volume 1, and the wall seems to match the shape of an Einstein-Rosen bridge. What if the Upside Down isn't just a dimension? What if it's literally a wormhole connecting Hawkins to Dimension X? If that's true, then closing the gates means collapsing the wormhole, which would cut off Dimension X entirely. Collapsing a wormhole sounds like it would take an insane amount of energy. It might even require a sacrifice. Someone might need to stay behind or use themselves as a conduit to make sure the gate stays closed. That's the part of the plan nobody wants to talk about, but everyone knows is possible. Let's talk about why that cave Max found in Vecna's memories is so important. This isn't just some random location Henry's scared of. This is where everything started. This is ground zero for how Henry Creel became Vecna. Based on the first Shadow play and what we've seen in Volume 1, young Henry went into a cave in Nevada and found some kind of government tech. That tech transported him to Dimension X, and that's where he encountered the Mind Flayer for the first time. The Mind Flayer flayed him, infected him with particles, and that's what gave him his powers. But here's the key detail. Henry is terrified of that cave even now, decades later as Vecna. He won't go near it in his own memories. Max uses that to her advantage by hiding there, but the fear itself is the weapon. Whatever happened in that cave was so traumatic, so horrifying, that Vecna has buried it deep in his consciousness. The plan has to involve using that trauma against him. If the group can physically go to the cave in Nevada, maybe they'll find something there. Maybe the gate that transported Henry is still active. Maybe there's residual energy from Dimension X that they can use. Or maybe, and this is a big maybe, they can lure Vecna back to the cave and force him to confront what he's been avoiding all these years. Jamie Campbell Bower, who plays Vecna, said in an interview that the cave represents buried core memories. He said creating the monster this season involved having those memories but burying them. That tells us Vecna's power comes partly from repression. He's pushed down the memory of what happened to him as a child, and that repression is what allows the Mind Flayer to control him. If Max and Holly can trigger those buried memories, maybe it breaks Vecna's concentration, maybe it severs his connection to the Mind Flayer, maybe it makes him human again, even just for a moment, and that's when 11 strikes. The episode titles support this theory. Episode 6 is Escape from Camazotz, which is when Max and Holly get out. Episode 7 is The Bridge, which could mean bridging the past and present or bridging dimensions. And episode 8 is The Right Side Up, which suggests everything gets flipped back to normal. The cave is probably the key to all of that. To understand how to stop Vecna, you have to understand what he's actually trying to do. He's not just killing people for fun. He has a specific goal, and it requires 12 children. At the end of Volume 1, Vecna tells Will that he needs 12 perfect vessels. He chose kids between the ages of 9 and 12 because their minds are weak and malleable. He can break them down and reshape them into whatever he needs. Will was the proof of concept back in 1983. Vecna took Will, pumped him full of upside-down particles, and created a connection to the hive mind. It worked. Now he's doing it on a larger scale. But why 12? There's a theory that Vecna isn't trying to create an army of warriors. He's trying to create living anchors. 12 kids positioned in specific locations around Hawkins, all connected to the hive mind, all channeling energy from Dimension X. Together, they would form a circle, a barrier, or maybe even a portal wide enough to let the Mind Flayer fully enter the real world. Think about the wall surrounding the Upside Down. It's circular. It's centered on Hawkins' lab. If Vecna places 12 kids in a ring around that circle, he could use them to expand the barrier outward. The Upside Down would grow, swallowing more of Hawkins, then more of Indiana, then more of the country, until the entire world is part of the hive mind. That's what he means when he says he wants to reshape the world. He's not talking metaphorically. He literally wants to turn Earth into an extension of the Upside Down, with everyone connected to the hive mind, no free will, no resistance, just obedience to the Mind Flayer. The plan to stop him has to involve breaking that circle. If the kids are the anchors, then the group needs to free them before Vecna completes the ritual or spell or whatever he's doing. That's going to be really hard because the kids' bodies are trapped in spires in the Upside Down, and their minds are trapped in Vecna's consciousness. Freeing them physically means going into the Upside Down and destroying the spires. Freeing them mentally means Max and Holly's escape plan has to work for all 12 kids, not just themselves. Luke is keeping running up. That hill on repeat for Max might become a model for everyone else. Play the kids' favorite songs, create portals out of Vecna's mind, and guide them back to their body. But there's a time limit. Volume 1 ended with most of the 12 kids already captured. Vecna has Holly, Derek, and several others. If he completes the circle before the group can stop him, it might be too late. The plan has to move fast, which is why everyone's role is so important. Okay, so at the end of Volume 1, Nancy, Steve, Jonathan, and Dustin followed a Demogorgon through a portal on the side of a grain silo. They went in hoping to track it back to Vecna. Now they're stuck in the Upside Down with no way to communicate with anyone in the real world. This creates a problem for the overall plan because 4 members of the team are completely cut off. But it also creates an opportunity. They're inside enemy territory. They can gather intel, sabotage Vecna's operation from within, and maybe even find the kids' bodies in the spires before anyone else gets there. The plan probably involves them freeing the kids on the inside while 11 and the others attack from the outside. Think about it like a prison break. You need someone on the inside creating chaos and opening doors, while someone on the outside provides the distraction and the firepower. Nancy's group is the inside team now, whether they meant to be or not. Dustin is the most scientifically minded person in that group. He's gonna figure out how the Upside Down works, how the hive mind operates, and maybe even how to jam Vecna's connection to the kids. He's done it before. In Season 2, he figured out how to draw the Demodogs away from the lab. In Season 3, he cracked the Russian code. He's the guy who solves impossible problems, and being trapped in the Upside Down is just another problem solved. Steve and Nancy are going to handle the physical threat. They've fought Demogorgons before. They set Vecna on fire at the end of Season 4. They know how to survive in hostile territory, and their relationship is probably going to come to a head while they're stuck there. They've been dancing around their feelings for years with Jonathan thrown into the mix. Being trapped in a life or death situation is going to force them to finally deal with it. But here's the risky part of the plan. The group in the Upside Down has no idea what's happening in the real real world. They don't know about Will's powers. They don't know about Kaylee being freed. They don't know about Max and Holly's escape plan. They're operating blind, which means they might do something that accidentally messes up the timing of the main plan. That's where trust comes in. The Duffers said this season is the most personal story they've told. It's about these characters who've been through hell together for 8 years, trusting each other to do the right thing even when they can't see the full picture. Nancy's group is going to trust that 11 and the others have a plan. And 11's group is going to trust that Nancy and the others will find a way to help from inside. The plan requires perfect timing. This is probably the hardest part. Everything has to happen at once. If they go after Vecna too early, before Max and Holly escape with the intel, they won't know his weakness. If they wait too long, Vecna completes his circle of 12 kids and the world is doomed. If Will uses his powers before 11 is in position, Vecna might sever the hive mind connection out of self-defense. If Khalid creates illusions before the right moment, Vecna will realize she's there and kill her. It's like a heist movie where every person has to do their job at exactly the right second or the whole thing falls apart. Except instead of robbing a bank, they're trying to kill a psychic god who can see into people's mind. The plan probably has phases. Phase 1 is gathering everyone and getting them into position. That includes freeing Cully, getting Max and Holly out of Vecna's mind, and having Nancy's group locate the kids' bodies in the upside down. Phase 2 is the distraction. Kaylee creates illusions to confuse Vecna. Will starts controlling the Demogorgons to keep Vecna's army busy. The military, if they're smart enough to help, provides cover fire. Phase 3 is the main assault. 11 goes head to head with Vecna while he's distracted and vulnerable. And Phase 4 is closing the gates while everyone escapes. Each phase has risk. Phase 1 could fail if the military captures 11 before she's ready. Phase 2 could fail and if Vecna sees through Kaylee's illusions. Phase 3 could fail if 11 is strong enough even with all the training. Phase 4 could fail if closing the gates requires someone to stay behind and nobody's willing to make that sacrifice. But the thing about this group is they've pulled off possible plans before. They defeated the Mind Flayer in Season 2 by closing the gate and burning the tunnels at time. They destroyed the Mind Flayer's physical form in Season 3 by blowing up the Russian machine. They survived Season 4 by splitting up across multiple locations and all coming back together at the end. They know how to work under pressure, they know how to adapt when things go wrong, and they know how to trust each other when it matters most. We already know music can save people from Vecna's curse. Max used running up that hill to break free in Season 4. Lucas is using it now to create a portal for Max to escape through. But the plan probably involves using music in a more aggressive way. Think about how Vecna operates. He gets into your head by showing you your trauma. He makes you relive your worst memories until you break. But music is the opposite of that. Music is connection. Music is emotion. Music is humanity. It's everything Vecna is trying to erase. What if the group uses music to attack Vecna directly? Not just to save someone from his curse, but to disrupt his concentration while he's trying to control the hive mind. There are going to be some really cool but very different musical moments in Volume 2 according to Matt Duffer. Different means they're not just using music defensively, they're weaponizing it. Maybe there's a scene where multiple songs play at once, each one connected to a different kid Vecna kidnapped. The songs create portals, pulling the kids out of his mind all at once, and the sheer number of escapes overwhelms him. Or maybe there's a specific song from Henry's childhood that triggers his buried memories of the cave. Something Joyce played when she directed that Oklahoma production in 1959. If they can make him hear that song, maybe it breaks his control. The Duffers love using music to create emotional moments. Eddie's guitar solo in Season 4 wasn't just cool, it was a distraction that let Nancy and the others attack Vecna. Whatever musical moments are coming in Volume 2, they're going to serve the plan in a major way. And knowing this show, they're probably going to make us cry while they do it. Mike Wheeler hasn't been as involved in the action as some of the other characters, but his role in the plan is just as important. He's the heart of the group. He's the one who keeps everyone connected when things get dark. Think about what Mike does. He gave Holly the D&D figure and told her she was Holly the Heroic, a cleric who could open dimensional doors. That wasn't just a sweet moment between siblings. That was foreshadowing. Holly's going to use that mental image to help Max escape Vecna's mind. Mike didn't know it at the time, but he gave her the exact tools she needed. Mike's also the one who understands Vecna best from a Dungeons & Dragons perspective. He knows how boss fights work. You don't just attack the big bad head on. You find his weakness, you exploit it, and you make sure your whole party is buffed and ready before you engage. He's been preparing for this his entire life through the game, and now he gets to apply those strategies to a real battle. The plan needs someone like Mike to coordinate everything. Someone who can see the big picture while everyone else is focused on their individual roles. He's not going to be the one delivering the killing blow to Vecna, but he's going to be the one making sure everyone knows when to move, when to strike, and when to retreat if things go wrong. And there's his relationship with 11. She's the main fighter, but she needs emotional support. Mike's been that support since Season 1. When 11 doubts herself, Mike reminds her how strong she is. When she feels like a monster because of her powers, Mike Mike reminds her she's a person. That emotional grounding is going to be crucial in the final battle. If 11 starts to falter, if she starts to lose hope, Mike is going to pull her back. Robin Buckle and Lucas Sinclair might not have powers, but they're essential to the plan. Robin's been helping Joyce run the radio station that broadcasts to Hawkins. She's also been there when Demogorgons attacked, herding kids to safety and keeping everyone calm under pressure. Her job in the plan is probably protection and evacuation. When the final battle happens, civilians are going to be in danger. Someone needs to get them out of the way. That's Robin. Lucas has a different but equally important job. He's Max's anchor. He's the one keeping her tethered to the real world by playing her song. Without him, Max would be lost forever in Vecna's mind. But his role goes beyond that. Lucas is smart, he's strategic, and he's loyal. If the plan requires someone to hold a position or protect a key location, Lucas is going to volunteer. The plan probably gives both of them moments shine. Robin figuring out a crucial piece of information. Lucas making a split-second decision that saves someone's life. These are the characters who don't get superpowers but still make a difference, and that's what makes them heroes. Hopper and Joyce have been through everything with these kids. They've fought monsters, traveled to Russia, and sacrificed more than anyone should have to. Their role in the plan is providing the adult perspective and the backup firepower. Hopper's the one with military and police training. He knows tactics, he knows how to handle weapons, and he's not afraid to put himself in danger if it means protecting the kids. The plan probably has him leading the charge when they need to physically engage with Vecna's forces. He's going to be the shield while 11 and the others do the psychic heavy lifting. Joyce is the emotional core. She's the one who never gives up, who never stops believing her kids are alive even when everyone else has lost hope. Her role is keeping morale up, keeping everyone focused, and making sure nobody makes a decision out of desperation that could ruin everything. Together, they're a powerhouse team. And with 11 as their daughter now, they're not just fighting for Hawkins, they're fighting for their family. That personal stake is going to drive them to do whatever it takes. Here's the thing everyone keeps missing. Vecna isn't just a monster, he's Henry Creel, a kid who was abused, misunderstood, and eventually corrupted by something beyond his control. The Mind Flayer didn't just give him powers, it twisted him, turned him into a weapon, and made him believe he was special when really he was just a victim. The plan to defeat Vecna has to exploit that, not the monster, the human underneath. Because even after decades of killing and manipulating and reshaping himself into something inhuman, Henry Creel is still in there somewhere. And humans have weaknesses that monsters don't. Max and Holly are going to discover this inside his mind. They're going to find a memory or a moment where Henry made a choice. Maybe it was in the cave when he first encountered the Mind Flayer. Maybe it was at Hawkins' lab when Brenner was experimenting on him. Maybe it was the moment he killed his mother and sister. Whatever it is, it's the moment where Henry could have gone a different direction and he didn't. If they can show him that moment, if they can make him remember what he was before he became Vecna, it might create doubt. And doubt is a crack that 11 can exploit to break him completely. Jamie Campbell Bower talked about how Vecna's core memories are buried. He said the interesting thing about this season is having those memories but burying them. That means the memories are still there. They're not gone. They're just locked away. And if you can unlock them, you can access the human who's been trapped inside the monster all this time. The plan isn't to redeem Vecna. He's killed too many people. He's caused too much pain. Redemption isn't on the table. But understanding him, seeing him as a person who is corrupted rather than evil from birth, that's what gives the group the edge. Because once you understand someone, you know exactly how to break them. If you enjoyed this, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more Stranger Things theories.